want to welcome you to another exciting episode of Pens in Use. I'm a little late this week, but been busy using my day off. So, pens I have for you today, part of what I got busy with because I just started inking up a couple. I had a few sent to me by some viewers, and I'm sorry I can't always remember who's willing to have their name shared and who isn't. And I'm going to have to look. This is my ink journal, so I can keep track of what pen and what ink and when it's inked and so on. So we'll start here. I have and I might be mispronouncing this. This is a Tatung 717, a Jinhao X10, an Esterbrook Pastel, Kaweco Sports Skyline, Platinum President, Conqueror in green and gold. I'm sorry, I drew a blank there. This is a Kaweco Perkeo. I'm going to have to look up how to pronounce that one. This is a Wingsunk 698, Centropen 100820. Oops, sorry. Aurora 88, and a Pelican. Oh shoot, what's this one called? Pelican something or other. Oh, Stola. Pelican Stola. Wow, that was awkward. So those are the pens I have in use this week. I'm hoping their color will show up a little bit better on this black back or dark notebook. If this does work out, maybe it'll solve my exposure issues. I also tried something different with the lighting, so we'll see. One of these should have an effect, but I probably should have only experimented with one variable at a time, right, science people? So I will start out with this Tatung 717, made in China. Apparently it's a 70s and 80s pen. Perhaps somebody a little less linguistically challenged than I am can tell me what the nib says. Filling mechanism. You just draw this out and push it back in. So, simple but effective. We'll get this notebook out of the way. And we'll pull in my pens in use book. This is one of those pens that almost has to be posted. It is actually kind of small. So let's zoom in, now that I have something to zoom in on. Alright, so this is a Tatung. Which is a brand I'd never heard of. I'm using an ink that was actually sent to me by a viewer. Also a brand I never heard of, Birmingham. And when you see the name of this ink, you're going to ask me, are you sure? But yeah, I'm sure. So it's a George. Whoops, sorry. By the way, this nib is steel, but it's supposed to have a little bit of flex to it. George Westinghouse. So, named after a person, but now here's where it gets sort of interesting. Alternator. Crimson. And perhaps there's a reason in Pittsburgh, because that's, I guess, where these inks are from, why it's named that, but I do not see it at all. The crimson is supposed to be very bright red to my mind, but not an artist, so what do I know? Now this next one is an interesting little pocket pen that was sent to me, Jinho X10, and it's tiny. Put it next to my Kaweco Sport. The Kaweco Sport looks positively obese next to it. It actually has me wondering, there's a much smaller Pelikan, or Kaweco. Well, they have a fire blue version, and I forget what all. I've never owned one or touched one, but I kind of wonder if this is the size. Now, it posts to a decent size, although I won't say this is my favorite pen. It's not the most comfortable to write with. Good for jotting a quick note when you're out and about, but not for a long writing session. And it has that aerometric converter filling mechanism, kind of like a Parker 51. So this is a Jinhao X10, and the ink in it is a bit of Aurora Blue Black. After discovering how well I liked Pilot Blue Black, I just thought, you know, I need to try out a few more Blue Blacks. But again, so tiny. Now this next one is ready for a review. I've owned it for quite a while actually, just haven't gotten around to reviewing it. It's an Esterbrook. It's a pastel pen. A lot of these actually don't survive because they get cracking right around here. I guess that's not hardy or it's too thin or something, because this is a pen you really have to post. And to post it securely is going to crack that. So I like the looks of this pen, but it's not one I use very often. So this is an Esterbrook Pastel. The nib in it, I can't read it in this light, but I wrote it down to the side here, is a 2341B. Basically, it's a relief nib. You probably can't tell, maybe a little bit, but it's cut at an angle like an oblique. And the ink in it is Pelikan 4001. Dark green. I don't particularly care for their brilliant green, but I like the dark green. And my last pocket pen, also one that's ready for a review, and I can't believe I've never reviewed it, but I honestly have not, is a Kaweco Skyliner Sport. Get the name exactly right here. I'm reasonably comfortable with a Kaweco Sport as for a longer writing session, but it's still not the best. This nib is a double broad. Sometimes I have trouble with it skipping or hard starts, but mostly it seems to behave. This ink is one I put in here because it's generally, this can also be a very wet pen, which doesn't sound like it goes with what I just said, but you know, I don't get to pick how the pen acts or when it acts that way. Oops, sorry, gave this ink the wrong name. River of Fire. Sounds like we're doing flashbacks to the 70s when some of the rivers here in the United States caught on fire due to all the pollution. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that's not the reference Robert Oster is after. He's Australian after all, and these are supposed to be referring to Australian things. This ink, I am told, has a decent amount of sheen. I just got the sample. I've hardly written with it, but I'll just pull up my my ink journal, or whatever you want to call this, pens and use book, whatever. I'm seeing a little. If I was still using that camera that had the magnifier, maybe you could see it better, but I'm not seeing a lot of sheen there. Naked eye or no. But it is a nice color. I got a letter written in Emerald of Chivor today. I'm kind of curious to look at that under the light. All right, this is an interesting one that I've had floating around for a while. I guess I've been nervous to ink it up. I don't know. It's called a Conqueror. It has a little bit of gold in it, and it's green. I don't know much about it. Okay, that was impressive. Oops, and it just dripped on my shoe. Lovely. So, oh yeah, I see a problem here. We'll show you the problem. So, a little bit more work is needed on this pen, because it shouldn't be like that. So, didn't even notice that. But I bet I can fix it just not right at this exact moment. So we'll just write the name. And just know that I will be taking this for a little heart-to-heart later. Conqueror, it was sold as green and gold. Yeah, and I think the problem there is this stupid gap that I didn't notice before. I should have noticed it when it was leaking on me, and I didn't. And it may be an ebonite feed. I'm pretty sure it is. So I feel like this will be a fairly straightforward fix. I think a little bit of heat setting. Conqueror green and gold. A little bit of movement to the nib, but I'd hardly call it a flex nib. And it is, let's see, another one of those Birmingham inks that I was sent as a sample by a viewer. So, you know, you always think, oh, I know what's out there for inks, and then you discover a new company. Let's see, Schenley Park. Let me make sure I spell that right. Schenley. Thicket green. All right, so I will work on this. Probably I'll try and remember to give you an update next week on how the repairs go. A little disappointing because I bought that one. That one wasn't one I restored. That's one I bought fully restored. Clearly not. I asked last week if I should ink up my Platinum President or a Centropen. I ended up inking up both. I love this pen. Of course, this Platinum President is the pen that was funded by this channel, broad with a cursive italic nib, and the ink in it is Saiior Jentle. Let's see, Waka-Uguisu. Well, that same benefactor who sent me these Birmingham samples just recently sent me some Bungle Box samples, so I'm curious to try them out as well. Alrighty. That, I think, is is fancy words for green tea, but I don't swear to it. Alright, my my Kaweco Perkeo. This was actually bought since I gave up on my pen buying hiatus. Very faceted barrel, the traditional shape for the Kaweco cap. Kind of nice looking, although I will admit I look at this and I think garbage can, which probably isn't what they're going for, but whatever. See if I can remember what size this nib is. Fine. And the ink in this guy, it's another one of those Birmingham inks, and now I recognize that there should be a name in front of this, but I didn't know that at the time. So whatever the name is, Fern Moss. This has turned out to be an okay, if not exciting, writer. Here's another one that'll be getting a review this week. Oops, sorry. I have a bad habit of doing that, don't I? This is another one that'll be filming a review. I'm planning to film 4 or 5 reviews this weekend. This is my Wing Sung 698. Finally, we have a brightly colored ink. I don't know why I've been doing all these depressing colors lately. I have a fine nib in mine, and this is Platinum. Classic. Lavender Black. Sorry, I had to think. And this is one of those inks that is supposed to, over time, get darker and darker as it oxidizes. I will just share with you I inked it up this afternoon. So darkened. And then I know I've used this before, so I had to page back a little bit because it has been a while since I used this ink. So this is in a totally different pen back in July. So you can see the color changes slowly, but not as much as I kind of expected it would. Alright, this next pen is another one with one of those inks that I need to have open because I will not remember the name. But this is my beloved Centropen 100820 with an absolutely stunning nib. I mean, it looks small and not that exciting until you go to write with it. It's kind of like having a paintbrush. This word means wisteria. Fuji-Musumi. So that gives me another slightly brighter color, but this pen, as you saw, is somewhat close to being empty. Okay, so since my hiatus, this is another pen I bought. One I've wanted to try. And honestly, let me write with it here. This is a Pelican Stola. Let's write so you can see it. I own a Pelikan 205 or M205, something like that. Anywho, that one's more flexible. That one's a lot more expensive, but I like this one a lot better. Only thing, if you're into that kind of thing, it doesn't really post. This ink is Robert Oster Bronze. That's a sample. I haven't decided if I like it or not yet. Maybe that'd be a one to put in my Homo sapiens when I ink it up. Alright, last pen. This has been my daily writer just lately. And it deserves it. This is a good pen. It's almost empty now too. You can't hardly tell probably because of the way the lighting is here. But anyway, this is my Rora 88. The ink is Aurora black. I don't have the pen inked up anymore, but I have an Aurora Duo cart, which you would have seen the last few weeks, and that came with a bottle of Aurora Black. So even though I pretty much accepted Lamy Black as my black, I'm writing with Aurora Black for the moment. So those are my pens that are in use. Way too many, but a few of these are going to go empty pretty quickly, and I've got the feeling a few of them are going to start to irritate me. But I'm kind of enjoying this exotic, slightly older Chinese pen. I have a few Chinese pens that are older. I have some Russian, or I should say Soviet pens that are a little bit older. Another Centropen, not as nice as this one, although it does seem to have the same finish. The nib doesn't even compare though. So expect some exotics, expect some cheap. I try and do a mix on this channel. It's boring if you tune into the channel only to see pens you'll never be able to buy. And it's also kind of boring if all they do is just the really cheap pens. Like I said, I like to see some variety. So that's what I'm doing here. I usually like to have more variety in colors than this. I'm just looking at this and saying, oh, that's a really dismal selection except for those two. So I need something brighter to put in here. Let me pull back on the writing sample. pull back a little more on the writing sample and more, so you can see everything. There we go. So yeah, kind of a dismal selection except for those two, and even those aren't terribly bright. So maybe I need to ink up yet another pen, maybe with something orange or red, something shiny and happy. And I need to ink up my Noodler's Nippon set and start doing some Christmas cards and such, or else a Noodler's Conrad with a metallic nib, because that's where I like to use those JR Bond inks to have the sparkles, because, well, that's good Christmas type ink stuff to use, and they put down a good line. I will be doing a few more reviews of pens that have survived, my Survivor pen series. Expect the Noodler's Nippon set, which was actually my first review. While I have it inked up with the JR Bond, why not? Or yeah, I get contacted occasionally by a gentleman from Quebec who doesn't like how I pronounce French words, so I forgot how to pronounce that word, and I wasn't planning to use it tonight, so whoops. But anyway, I'd be using... I like them for Christmas cards. I don't use them much for general writing, because the little particles settle down. I've never tried the Diamine Shimmertastic inks. I mean, they exist. And I've seen them on letters. They're kind of pretty. The orange one with the sparkles is nice, but I just can't work up the enthusiasm for them. I don't know. I've purchased a few inks since my hiatus, and you know, the bigger thing is I keep thinking I need to purge, I need to purge, I need to purge. So we'll see. I may work on purging some more. I gave away quite a number of fountain pens just recently for Fountain Pen Day, and some of them are in regular use, some are not. Yeah, I'm running out of things to say. I'm just babbling now, so we'll close it up there. How about that? So I thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.